beginning of distribution, or we could just be seeing a dip that gets bought up strong. So for Bitcoin high time frame, we have solid weekly structure. Right. Weekly structure, totally fine, intact. Weekly structure goes all the way to 100k. Right. Low time frame, we have some resistance, but anything above 100 from a structural perspective is fine. From a trend perspective, I would expect it to not go any lower than the lower band, which is currently 105. But by the time we would reach that, it should be higher. And I'd expect a very strong reaction off the upper band if we got there. You have to let a few days play out to see what are we going to most likely have for this month. But certainly for me, there's no daily trend for Bitcoin. There is for ETH. ETH does have daily trending structure. So unless you start to see it close, which it's threatening to do, right? If it closes below 3628, that would be the first daily market structure break. Let me get this off here. 3628 would be a daily market structure break on ETH. As you come into this low, you attempt to make a new high, you would then break that. We're going into September. If you get that exact same structure and that same move, but you fail to make new highs, right? You come up here, it can't make new highs, then you're looking at that lower low, which would also be a lower low on a weekly basis. That's when you're looking at downtrend versus uptrend. April was when gold had already moved and was going sideways. When they both consolidated throughout 2023, Bitcoin broke out before gold. Gold continued to consolidate all the way until March of 2024. Right, so all of Bitcoin's uptrend, October through March, was while gold was consolidating. Then Bitcoin corrected from March until October, while gold trended strong, right up until the election. At the election, gold stopped, pulled back for 2 months, Bitcoin ripped for 2 months, then Bitcoin pulled back, gold went higher, and since then we've seen gold consolidate sideways as Bitcoin has strengthened. The sweep and the hold, obviously stock doesn't need to be there. Stock could be moved pretty quickly up to that low, so you could add size. That would mean you'd be adding, based on a lower time frame system, you'd be adding higher obviously, but you'd be moving the overall stock up with both. That's what that means. But that's still, order has to fill first, so we'll see. But that's my plan with Bitcoin. Not expecting it to fill. That's kind of the point. If it does fill, it's a bonus. Jim. Altcoin edge. And just in general, to be clear with Bitcoin that this structure is just more likely to go down than up. And important to say that in terms of the context of where we're at right now, because it won't, I don't think, just nuke straight down to zero. And if it rallies, I think it can rally quite significantly. But given the structure of this, with the failed breakout and then the full retrace back to the lows, it's certainly not in a trending structure. Bitcoin has 115 and 120, not just as the round number support and resistance that we talked about whenever we first came up here in July. You have 110, we broke through there, 115, 120, 125, obviously the round numbers, and the value area where a price has spent the majority of its time consolidating throughout all of this has been 115 to 120. So any upside movement today on BTC around the Powell speech and any of the volatility we get around that Jackson Hole symposium would be 115.
see Fantastic Four, so I want to go to Brickell, so I want to be able to see that. And then we also want to go do the Ferris wheel stuff. So we have a couple of things that we still could possibly do today. What is going to happen next? What we're going to be doing exactly next, I don't know, but you'll see where we're going. All right, we just got to this cafe we're about to eat at. I ain't gonna lie, I had
Move from Bitcoin coming soon. Just waiting to see what the move is for this weekend, man. Patience is the key.
Back to you now. So you're mixed with a lot of stuff, and then dating status.
As we get closer to the end of the week, despite the fact that many think what happened on Friday with the Jackson Hole speech of Powell, maybe it wasn't quite as bullish as people think, and there could be some misalignment of expectations and reality here. As we look down through the sector performance that we often go over, we see layer one's leading, DeFi, L2, gaming, meme, and AI in that order. But from last week to this week, everything's either flat or down. So again, not a bullish week in terms of price returns, much more volatile week. And that's why you have systems. Because I also hope Bitcoin keeps going up forever. I own Bitcoin. I've got long-term Bitcoin stacked away. I do not want Bitcoin to ever go down. I want every single candle to go up and up only. And probably the primary reason why I learned and spent so much time learning how to trade is because Bitcoin does not go up only, nor does any asset. And once they start to sell, the market actually goes the other way. So, anyway, back to Bitcoin. Moving up, not much has changed really from the past few days. Talked about the different paths the BTC could take, and main being one of these three. So we got the top and the sweep and the reversal with the close. We didn't close outside the 0.2 on the fib. So if this is going to be a horizontal range, this can still be within range and not have broken the 20%, so that's fine. But I would still expect one of these lower highs, probably not this one at this point, of course. I mentioned that the price might just keep nuking straight down. Go on about, bang on about. The Fed are slowly abandoning that. This 2% number for inflation is just made up anyway. Always was. And so what really needs to happen is they just need to say, they can't say it, but stats and history have shown that actually you don't need, if you look at like CPI, you don't need CPI be the week before. You don't actually need CPI to be 2%, so it's 2.7 on CPI. And if you look at it over the long term, it doesn't need to be 2%. It can sustain at above 2%. Now, when it went to 5% right before the GFC, that was too high. Rate of change was too great. Then it obviously contracted into the recession, bounced back up into 2.7, back down to 1, up to 3.2, back down to around 1.7, somewhere around 2. Then it was rising 2.3 and 2.5, and this is 2017, 18, 19. Of course, you had crazy spike of COVID back down, and it's slowly trending down from the 3s into the 2s. I think it was Darius Dale, who many of you know from Prof. Adam, would have put him on people's radars years ago.